All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today I'm going to try to make a noob's guide to towing for the first time. I actually had never towed a car before this year, and now I've towed about 6 times with really good success, and it was probably one of the most anxiety-inducing things I've ever jumped into, simply because I had no idea what I was doing. So many videos and information that you could find out there is kind of like based on having some knowledge already, and I really just needed something from the ground up to help me have all the information I need to tow confidently. And so that's kind of what this video is for. If you're an experienced tower, this might help, give you some information as well, answer some questions you have. But this is gonna really dumb it down and help people that have never towed before, so you can have confidence as you go into your towing for the first time. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe, because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Now, before we jump too far into it, I do want to mention I have links to all of the towing equipment I use in the video description. This is everything I got in advance to make sure I would have the most success with towing, and this is what I use to make sure my setup is safe and I can have all the control I need while I'm on the road. So definitely check out those links. Some of them are affiliate links, so they do help support the channel, but if not, I'll just put a link to the actual manufacturer's website as well. So let's go ahead and talk about my towing setup. So as you can see, I've got a couple different things going on here. One, of course, is the tow vehicle. Then I've got the trailer and the car that I'm actually towing. So we're going to start at the front, just because that's kind of the most basic thing that you need, is obviously a vehicle to tow with. So the car that I'm using is a BMW X7, and there are a couple things that you need to consider when you're picking a tow vehicle. Of course, one is the actual tow rating. So the tow rating on this car is 7,500 pounds. But the other thing you need to consider is the actual tongue weight rating. And on this car, it's 600 pounds. And that sounds a little bit weird when you understand the requirements for towing. So we'll talk about that more in a little bit, but those are two main things that you want to consider. Now that, of course, is going to have an effect on what you can tow. So we've got two things behind us. One is the actual trailer, and then the vehicle that we're towing. And so both of these added together obviously weigh a certain amount. For the car, I actually recently made a video showing you how you can see how much the car weighs, but the trailer is actually what I was looking for originally when I found this information. So what you want to do if you're picking a trailer is look for this gross vehicle weight rating, and that tells you what the axles are rated for and basically what the car or what the trailer can actually support. Then you're going to come over and find this sticker. It should always kind of look like this. It's like this yellow, red, and black writing, and it tells you how much weight you can actually add to the trailer. So if you subtract the total weight you can add to the trailer minus the total amount of weight that the trailer can pull in total, including the weight of the trailer, you can subtract those two, and that'll tell you what the trailer itself weighs. So combine that with the weight of your car, and that tells you how much you're actually towing. Now also keep in mind, my car is, I think, around 3,600 or 3,700 pounds, but I'm not just towing the car. I also have a bunch of tools and things inside the car that I bring with me to my track days. Hopefully you guys can see that, but there's a bunch of equipment in there, tools, my helmet, all that stuff. So you need to add the weight of everything that you are pulling on the trailer. If you're adding a toolbox or jugs of fuel, all of that is combined together to tell you how much you're towing behind your tow vehicle. Now, the reason why this is critical is because we need to make sure our tongue weight is safe. So remember I said we had both a towing capacity and a tongue rating? Well, you want to make sure that the tongue weight is 10% to 15% of the total weight of everything that you're towing. So it should be about 10%. In this case, if I can tow with 600 pounds of tongue weight, that means I can tow up to 6,000 pounds of total weight with my trailer and the car combined. Now, if you know the weight of your car and it's higher than what that would make, you need a lighter trailer in order to make sure it's within the towing capacity of your vehicle. Now, this probably sparks two questions. One, of course, is how do you set the tongue weight? And the way to do that is basically to adjust how your car is mounted or where it's located on the trailer. So if you pull it forward, it's going to increase tongue weight. If you pull it backwards, it's going to decrease tongue weight. Because my car is a BMW, generally speaking, I want it centered over the axles because these cars come with 50-50 weight distribution, and that will help maintain the balance. But if you have a rear engine car, you might have to pull it on further. You might even have to reverse it onto the trailer to get your tongue weight right. If you have a front wheel drive car, it would be the opposite. So that's just kind of what you want to think about to make sure that you get the tongue weight right, is basically putting the car in the exact right position on the trailer so that you can get adequate tongue weight on the front, but not too much to where it overwhelms the car. The reason why tongue weight is important is because if you have too much tongue weight, it will start to lift up the front of the car, your steering will get a little bit soft, and the car won't be as responsive. If you have too little tongue weight, then the car can actually get pulled by the trailer. So you want adequate tongue weight on the actual hitch, so that way the trailer is being pulled by the car down the road, but it's not actually overwhelming the suspension to where, the front end of the car is lifted up and your front wheels aren't working that well. Thankfully, my car has auto leveling with the air suspension, so that also helps compensate a little bit. But even with spring suspension, that's going to be a really critical aspect to setting it up properly. So that's something to keep in mind. And what I did is I bought this hitch. This is a WaySafe hitch, and you can see it actually has a gauge on it that tells you the tongue weight of your vehicle, or the tongue weight of your trailer. So you can see it's actually just over 600 pounds. I had it right at 600 pounds, but it must have shifted a little bit. But that's what you're going for. You want to get your tongue weight within the rating of what your vehicle can handle, and also between 10 to 15% of your trailer weight. So that is something that's really clutch. I see a lot of people use more conventional hitches, and that's fine, but I think this is kind of like the best option, especially if you're new to towing and you've never loaded a car on a trailer before, or you don't know how it's going to balance out. That will make sure you can actually read and get your tongue weight exactly where it should be. The other benefit is it comes with these other security features. So like I've got this locking pin on the trailer so people can't pull it off. I've also got a locking pin on the actual hitch, so that can't be pulled out easily. I've got a lock on the hitch right here as well. So for the height adjustment, that can't be changed without a key. So it's just really nice to have the added security and all of the keys match, so I can change everything together at the same time. Now, the other thing you might be curious about is if the tongue weight can only be 600 pounds, what's the point of having a 7,500 pound tow capacity? Because if I was actually towing 7,500 pounds, I'd want no less than 750 pounds on the tongue, which is too much for this car. And the reason is because your tow capacity includes everything. So if you have 6,000 pounds behind the car, you can have 1,500 pounds in the car. So that means actual people, cargo, luggage, everything on top of the car, whatever else you have can total up to an extra 1,500 pounds. So the total amount of weight that the car can pull is 7,500 pounds. That's kind of how you want to think about it. And the 6,000 pounds can be pulled behind the car with an adequate amount of tongue weight to make sure you tow safely. So that's why the numbers are the way that they are. So now at this point, hopefully we've figured out that we've got a good hitch, we've got our tongue weight right, and it's within 10 to 15% of the weight of our trailer plus the weight of our tow vehicle. Now, the next thing we need to do is add a brake controller. And the brake controller that I use is Redarc. I think it's one of the best for my setup simply because I can plug it right into the OEM harness for BMW. And I think a lot of cars it will work very similarly. So this is where I have the actual adjustment to control the strength of the brakes. But the reason why you need this is because legally, if you're towing above a certain weight, which you will be above that weight if you're towing a car, you need to have a brake controller. This makes sure that you're actually sending a brake signal to the electronic brakes on the trailer so that it will add additional braking force for the extra weight that you're towing. If you don't have a brake controller and your trailer doesn't have surge brakes, which is really the only other option, then you're going to have a bad time. You're basically going to put all of that load on your car's brakes, which is going to be significantly weaker than using the brakes on the trailer as well. So this has been life-changing for me. It's actually proportional braking with the car. So if you brake slowly, it brakes lightly. If you brake hard, it brakes hard. And it just makes the whole towing process a lot more safe. So I highly recommend it. Like I said, there is one other option. Some trailers have surge brakes. So basically between the actual hitch and the trailer, if you hit the brakes and the trailer pushes forward, it compresses, and that actually sends hydraulic pressure back to the brakes. And that kind of is a reactive way to build in, you know, cheaper braking into your trailer. But I recommend getting one with electronic brakes. The brakes are going to be safer. And like I said, it's going to be more concise and in tune with the braking that you're putting through the pedal. So now once you've got all this set up, we're going to have everything plugged in. Thankfully, my car has the tow package, so it has everything set up from the factory. We've got our 7-pin electrical connector right here. Then we've also got our safety chains. These are recommended to basically be crossed, so that way if the trailer were to come off of the hitch, the chains would catch it and make sure that it doesn't just go flying down the highway. And if you cross the chains, it makes them a little bit shorter so they're not dragging on the ground, and you still have the safety that you need. So take the chain from each corner, cross it, and then hook it onto this loop. And then we've also got, I believe this is called like an emergency brake, but basically if this pin pulls out, then the brakes on the trailer will automatically activate as well. So even without the wire being plugged in or anything else that could mess up the trailer, you're basically gonna hook that again onto this loop, and that's going to make sure that it pulls out if the trailer were to come disconnected, and the brakes will activate to try to stop it as quickly as possible. So this part is pretty straightforward. Just clip everything onto either those two loops on your tow setup, and then plug in your electrical connector either to the standard 4-pin or the new modern 7-pin connector over here. Now, the last thing I think I want to mention are straps, and I got these Max straps because they were highly recommended to me. I really don't know much about straps. I don't do a lot of strapping down of equipment or tools or anything, but these have been so clutch simply because this is an 18-foot trailer, okay? And this is a BMW 3 Series. It's not that big. It is pretty big, but you know, if you're driving a modern car, it's probably this size. And even with an 18-foot trailer, this is all the strap that I use to actually tighten it down. It's this short. And so the really nice thing with the Max straps is they have this really compact setup that the ratchet and the front hook are basically built in one piece. And that's something that I definitely underestimated, but once you have it set up, it allows you to basically have an appropriate length between your wheel and the actual rings on the trailer so that you can adequately strap down your straps. And it comes with a nice carrying case. You can see it also comes with these Velcro loops. These actually are used to store it, but I also use them to kind of tighten down the straps so they're not loose and like flailing while I'm driving down the road. So it's just a really clean setup. Now, obviously, the option I went with was looping through the wheel and then ratcheting that down onto the hook. But there are a bunch of different ways people do it. Some people have the airline strips. Some people like to hook onto the suspension. I can do a whole video on why I do it this way, like why I don't cross my straps and why I go through the wheels. So if you guys want to see that in a future video, let me know. But I don't want to make this one too long. But suffice it to say, get some quality straps. And this is kind of how I recommend strapping it down. So this way it won't scratch your wheels. You'll still have adequate, you know, safety to keep your car tied down. And it just works really well. Like I said, I've towed like this 6 or 7 times this year. And every time, even when I come to a stop, there's like pretty much no slack or anything coming into the straps. At most, I might get one click out of it when I go to my first gas stop. So it stays really tight and secure. I really like doing it this way. Now, I think the only other thing I want to mention is in this case, I own the car, I rent the trailer. So there's a local shop that works on trailers and sells trailers near me, and they also rent out trailers, and they're the ones that I use. So if you don't have a trailer, you can always rent one. I know U-Haul is really popular, but I think these styles of trailers are a little higher quality. It is steel, so it's a little bit heavier than like an aluminum trailer, but if you look on Facebook Marketplace or just search around, a lot of times there are people or businesses that rent out trailers. And even if you don't have a tow vehicle, you can rent a truck from U-Haul or, you know, Enterprise cars or wherever with the tow package and use those for towing as well. So this is something that I feel like anybody can get into as long as you're safe about it, have good high quality equipment. It really, you know, allows you to do everything safely. Now, I do like owning the vehicle because I can wire up the brake controller and kind of set everything up for it perfectly, because there are some different setups for like the size of the hitch or the ball for the actual trailer to mount onto. You know, those are different sizes. So I at least like to be consistent with the setup that I use, and I always rent from the same place, so I know everything else will fit. But you know, there are a lot of options out there, so don't necessarily think you have to buy a trailer. You can rent a trailer, you can rent a tow vehicle, you know, a lot of stuff works. And keep in mind, a lot of tow vehicles are severely underrated. I think my X7 is definitely one of them. I constantly have people asking me how it tows, and they're surprised to see that I'm towing it so often now, or I should say towing with it so often now. Thankfully, it hasn't had to be towed yet. But, you know, stuff like that, I think, goes a long way. A lot of modern vehicles are a lot more capable than they used to be. Smaller cars can tow more. You don't need like a huge diesel dually just to tow your car to the track. A lot of stuff can get you there safely. Oh, and one last thing I almost forgot to mention is when you are loading and unloading your car, you're going to pull out the ramps and get everything set up. If you need extra ramps or wooden blocks or whatever, if your car is low, set that up. But once you're getting the car on the trailer, you must have the trailer attached to the vehicle. The reason is because if you don't, you're basically going to put all of the weight on the back of these two tires, and that's going to make the trailer want to go up in the air and like not flip backwards, but it's going to make it point straight up. And that, of course, is a big problem. So what you want to do is go to this stand right here, and normally you can turn it one way to lower it or turn it the other way to raise it. So you're going to raise it all the way up, drop it down onto your actual hitch, lock that in place, and that will make sure that even as the weight tries to pull up, your car is going to help hold it down, and that way you'll be able to load your car safely. So that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people have, outside of, you know, the ones where you're driving on the road and it starts getting loose and making the car want to go side to side. The other thing is loading the car incorrectly, because if you're hooking it onto the trailer and it's not connected to the vehicle, it's very easy for the front end to come up into the air, and you could have a very bad time, especially if you try to back up and this all falls down and it hits the car or something. It can just be very loud and dramatic. So make sure your trailer is connected to your tow vehicle anytime you're loading or unloading your car. So hopefully this answers any questions you guys might have. Again, this is kind of being made for people that are trying to tow a vehicle for the first time and they just need baseline information on what they need, how to hook up the trailer, you know, what will make sure that everything is safe so they don't end up, you know, turning into another meme on the internet with the car losing control or doing something crazy. I, again, was really nervous going into this, and then I found the car drives perfectly fine. I can cruise at 75 miles an hour, go up and down hills, and everything just works flawlessly. So highly recommend running a setup like mine, either same parts that I use or similar equipment to have the best luck. You know, let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see. If you have any other questions, I can dive deeper into some of the details with towing and some of the things that, you know, are a little more nuanced that you can fine tune to make it meet your exact needs. So for now, I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.